Hey everybody, how you doing? Good morning, good morning. We're glad to have you here. We have some gentlemen all the way from Belgium who've come to give you some great information. So they are from Collibra. Please give lots of wild applause. This is Peter, Tom, and Stan.
Thank you.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Stan from Collibra, and there's Peter and Tom. They will actually be doing the work. We're also from Brussels, but also from Brooklyn. So after I do my job, I'm going to get out of here. So we're going to talk about Collibra. We're considered to be the market-leading data governance and catalog software. And as I say this, I see all of your eyes glaze over, right? So if you want to know what we do, you got to ask yourself the question, is it easier for you to buy a book online than it is to find your own data in your own organization? And that's the problem we solve. This is summarized in this one slide. So Collibra is all about find, understand, and trust. The data engagement, the catalog, the governance, and the data experience. And we differentiate ourselves by the business focus, the collaboration between the business and IT, the huge ecosystem, and the customers upon customers with successful projects. The success of our customers to be more data-driven, to become more mature with data, is our mission. And the reason for that is that we've seen that digital is the new way. This is a study by McKinsey. Only 8% of the people believe that their business model will survive the digital revolution. Or in other words, there's 92% of the companies who think that they are blockbusters about to be out Netflixed. And the whole driver behind that is data and analytics, right? So everybody wants to be digital, and they talk about using virtual desktops or whatever, but we all know it's about data analytics. The problem in the history of data analytics is that it used to be very centralized, right? With Cognos, business objects, very slow, the business hated it. Then they went into self-service analytics, Tableau, ClickView, but you got a proliferation of reports, so you didn't know what things meant anymore. There was no trust. And that arc to go more freedom is continuing, you know, with the data lakes. Finally, one place to put all our data in one place. And the data lakes, in our view, are now going from on-premise into the cloud, which is why we are here together with AWS. Because we believe that data management, you know, the old storing of data, moving of data, consolidating data, it's massively commoditizing in the cloud, right? When you have the old software vendors who are now competing against Amazon, Microsoft, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform, then you know you have a big battle going on, and one of those players will capture most of the market share. And just for your information, I don't think that IBM or Larry Ellison actually count. I'm still waiting to see their cloud initiative. So we believe that data management will commoditize in the cloud, and that's why we're going to show you a demo scenario that shows how you can do governance and catalog in an Amazon environment. Now, our strategy as a company is hybrid multi-cloud, because you will still have data on-premise and you will have multiple cloud vendors. But today we're only focusing on a demo scenario with Amazon. And we're going to do that by showing how you have an S3 bucket that has a data source. Then you have Redshift and Athena, which is a data target, a data warehouse or a lake, with glue in between that moves the data from one to the other. And you have Amazon's identity access management, where the permissions are being set. So my colleagues are going to log into the catalog, shop for data, and then it's going to be a whole process that's going to be followed. Somebody's going to say, yes, you can get access to this data for this purpose. And then it's going to pipe into Athena, and we're going to show how in a Tableau report you can immediately start using that. Thanks, and the real heroes are about to start. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So indeed, as Stan said, I will show you a little scenario. I have it here on my screen. I'm going to be Araf today. Araf couldn't make it. I'll do his job. I'm a business analyst, and my job has been given to me is create a report on Q4 sales forecasting. Right? That's all I know. So what I will do as Araf, I will go to Collibra. Collibra has a nice catalog. It doesn't only contain data, it contains reports. So let's start by looking for a report. If it exists, well, it's a good start, right? It's a head start. I can start from that. And then I can see which data is used and so on. So let's just do that. So I'm a RAF. I go into my catalog as a search function. And if I'm going to say, well, let's say I search for, it's about sales forecasting, right? So let's say I search for orders. There you go. There are a few hits. I have orders by price quantity. I can see what that's about, and apparently that's, you see it here, it's a Tableau worksheet. We don't store, of course, this Tableau worksheet, but we connect to a Tableau server, as with other BI servers, and we get the metadata. So I can see the whole Tableau structure, the site, the project, the workbook. I can see a lot of information about this Tableau report. Now, what's nice to see, for me as an analyst, see that it has a very good rating. Now, what does it mean, a rating? Well, it's a thumbs up for my peers, right? They said, okay, this is a very good report. Please be happy. So I am happy. So I scroll through and say, okay, looks good. I have a nice preview. I even see which fields are used in the report. That's very nice to see. But then I come to a tag, and tag for us is a social feature, so people collaborate around the data. So, okay, it says deprecated. So someone found it necessary to put a deprecated tag on there. So that's a bit of an alarm bell going off. So I look back at the official state. Remember, we're also governance. It's also about also a governed set of reports. Well, it says obsolete. So that's not a good sign. So I scroll through, I go down, and I see that a guy named Luke, I don't know who Luke is, but I see that he says, well, do not use this report anymore, because the data that we used is from a deprecated source. That's a bummer. I cannot start using this data then. But Luke was kind enough to say, well, we now have a new ERP platform to replace that old system. It's ERP Cloud. So for me, that's very easy. I can click through to the ERP Cloud system because Collibra knows also as an inventory of all the systems that we have in our company. And I see here that there's an ERP Cloud system with a nice description of what it is. And luckily enough, indeed, it's in production. So that's what Luke told me through Collibra. That's very good to know. Now, I want to see now what is on this system, right? I need to use data from this system. That's the message, okay? Let's see what is on there. So I'll make this a bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. So what you see here is that there's an ERP cloud system, but the only thing attached to that, show it here, is a data model. Because Collibra also has a data model, so which data domains are captured in the system, but there's no actual data yet. That doesn't mean that there's no data in this cloud system, in this ERP system. It just means this data is not available for analysts yet. It's not yet in the lake. It's not yet consumable. So I can see to my pain, like, okay, it's actually what I needed. There's a business context given here. That's what Collibra does. But the data is not there. So in a regular catalog where it would just be indexing what is there, this is where it would end, right? But luckily, Collibra is not that. Because besides having data, having reports, we also have a stewardship module. So we know who is responsible for which system, for which data domains. So I can just, as an analyst, say, okay, I want to request a new data set to be onboarded into the lake. I'm going to call it data for sales forecast. I give it a nice description. There you go. There's two other parameters I have to fill. From which system do you want the data? Well, that's an ERP cloud system, remember? And what data do you need? So I'm going to say I want actuals, I want forecast information, let's say price, I want to know something about product maybe. Say that's enough. So this is important. But by filling those two fields, Collibra knows to tell the system owner, well, this is what will happen. Data from your system will have to be onboarded into the lake. And second of all, the subject matter expert of these data domains will also get notified to actually do that. So I'm not just going to fire that request off, and this is where it ends for me for now. So as a RAF, I have done my job, and now it's up to Collibra to find the necessary people and drag them in. And luckily, I brought Luke. So Luke will take over for me and do his thing, right?
All right, so I'm going to be playing Luke, and Luke is a data engineer and a subject matter expert of the ERP cloud system. So if we go to Luke, and I actually have to refresh my screen, you will see that Luke will have received the task. And that task is actually coming from Collibra. So on the top right corner, you see that I have a task here. And the task says that somebody requested me to onboard physical data on the AWS lake. So I can see all the different details that the person asks, right? He's asking for a simple data set. If I click through on that data set, I will see that he's actually asking a couple of logical data entities like actuals, forecast, price, and product information. For me, that's good enough to know because I know that actually this data has been requested for this ERP cloud system, right? I know the logical model since I'm the subject matter expert, so I now know what I need to do to onboard data on the. So what I will basically do, outside of Collibra, obviously, I will call the APIs who will throw some information on the raw zone. I will create an AWS Glue ETL script that will transform that information into the refined zone, which is readily consumable by our business analyst. So I do need to say to Collibra that if I look at the task, that this task has been completed because Collibra needs to know that I've put data in the raw zone, that I've created an ETL, and that I did also a refined data set on the refined zone. So all done, right? And I can push done, and then Collibra will behind the screen fetch that metadata from all these different data sets and tables and columns on the raw and refined zone. It will fetch it and display it further. So if I now go to our data set, what we will see is that the data set no longer only holds information on the logical entities, but also contains actual data elements, columns. So I can, for example, see this 6-month actual sales. I can verify whether that column is effectively there. I will be able, for example, to see profiling information on it, and I will see distributions for it. So let me go back to my data set, right? What else is there to see in my data set? Oh, let's go here, data set. Okay, I'm back on my data set. So what is also pretty cool on the data set, which is one of our key features, is the ability to really see that lineage around the data set. So if I go to this data set and the lineage diagram, I will see, for example, here my data set, which is linked to my system, my ERP cloud system, which is linked to this table, which resides on this schema, which resides on the refined zone on AWS, right? And I can even, when I go to the table and I ask for the same lineage report, I will be able to see effectively what I've done as a data engineer. Let me enlarge this a little bit. So you will see all the things that I've done on AWS. So on the left-hand side, you see the data that I put through the API calls on the raw layer. You can even zoom into and find more details there. You will see my ETL script, right? Where you see the different actions that I take, that I actually joined that information, that I manipulated some columns to make sure that only the right columns are there, and that I ultimately created data on the refined zone. Cool. So the only thing that I still need to do, if I go back to my data set, right, which is here, I just need to grant access to our business analyst. So what is pretty cool about these diagrams is that you can also trigger workflow events from the diagram. So I'm going to start this workflow event, and I'm going to say that the business analyst Araf requested access to this information for management reporting on sales forecast. Yes. Okay, and I need to pick the user, which is Araf. So, and Araf will get access through the system. So let's quickly go back to our demo scenario to show you where we are. So I was Luke, the data engineer, right? I've put all the data on the cloud, and I requested access. And now, obviously, there's a third person involved. And today I will also play Joanne. So Joanne is a data owner, and she needs to approve the request. So let me go and show you our mobile application, because Joanne is really a very busy person, and Joanne is constantly on the go, right? So she's going from one meeting to the other, and Joanne does a lot of things through the mobile, right? So let me refresh my on-the-go app, log in again, because it was a bit delayed. So, and Joanne will see that now, here in her dashboard, she has a task, right? And this task comes from Luke, and it's about requesting access to data, of which she's the owner, right? She can zoom into the details, look at the data set from her mobile phone, and see like, okay, this is good. The purpose is okay, it's for management reporting, so only internal. I'm going to approve the data set, the data request. So now I'm going to hand it over back to Peter. Peter, who's Araf, he will be notified as well of the fact that his access request through Luke was approved, and now he can start building his report because he will have received access. Peter, back to you.
Thanks, Joanna. So indeed, as Joanna said, I now have access to this data set, and it was very nice. Even though I requested this data, I still don't know what's actually in there. So I can just go into that data set. So that let's open it in a new tab, and I can myself go verify that profiling information, because okay, I can very well see that in this data set. Let's say that there is a column 1 month actual sales. Well, that's great. I needed that. I need that kind of information. So, but what if that column is mostly empty? Well, then this data set, although about the correct topic, cannot help me. So I can go to that 1 month actual sales field and look at the profiling information. Say, okay, only 5% is empty. Nice. What is the data distribution? That looks good too. So for the sake of this story, let's say this data set is okay. I already got access. Now what does that mean that I have access? Well, let me go back to my data set. It means that if I refresh my data set, it means that I should be able to start using this data set somehow. So it's on Amazon. So this means I'd rather use it, like query it through, for example, Athena. So looking at my graphical representation that Tom already showed you, let's say I do the one without reporting. There we go. You see that now Luke gave me access, and this is what he gave me, in fact. Well, he didn't do it himself. It went through the connection we made with AWS IAM. I actually received a set of keys to access the data, right? I have an access key, a secret key, and all the Athena information that I need. So this is very useful. And for this demo scenario, we communicated directly through our product, but a lot of our customers want us to add it into their password vault or just add access right to the keys that the person already have, and that's fine. That's fine. But it's just to show that indeed this is how we can do that. And let's say I made this report now. I'm not going to do it. I'm conscious of time. I made it beforehand. Then I can show you, well, what will be the end result from a Collibra perspective. So I made a supply chain management report beforehand. Remember, this is what a Tableau workbook looks like in our product. I put a lot of effort. See, I made a lot of worksheets, a lot of dashboards in Tableau. I've used a lot of fields coming from that nice data set that I requested. So that's very good. And then you see that if I go to a graphical representation of that report, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, you will see that not only have I this report in my, let's say, in my Collibra, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but we have also the report fields, and the report fields are automatically stitched back to that data set. So Collibra knows it's this data set you used for this report. So next time someone comes in, goes into Collibra, finds that report, they can use the exact same data or find the exact same data. And look, this is data coming from loosectl, coming from that raw zone. Right? And this is how we, as being Collibra, actually put a catalog on top of your lake and make sure the whole process from finding data, understanding it, getting some trust in it, and creating a report, which is actually what you had to do in the first place, gets streamlined very easily and through one central spot. Okay? So let me switch back to a last slide, a concluding slide. We are at booth 3013. It's a bit down the road here to the left. So if you have any questions, please visit us. If you would have questions now, I think we have the possibility for a few questions here. So I think they will come around with the microphone. So
Yes.
just raise your hands if you have a question that you want answered here. If not, private questions at the booth.
Got one over here.
So you mentioned about information catalogs, right? What are some best practices you're using to make sure that the catalog is effective or even more effective?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So the first thing we plead for is do not just dump everything in your lake and hope that putting a catalog on it, and which is a visualization, that will solve it. No. Putting things into the lake should also be managed by the catalog, as I showed you here, right? You request data from a certain system, and because that request is there, they will put it into the lake, or at least move into the area that's cataloged into the lake. Because otherwise, if you just put a catalog on top of maybe the mess you made in the lake, because that's possible, you will just see the mess visualized in a different application. That's not what you want. Good.
All right, one more over here.
I really like the GUI. It's really impressive and very
Thank you.
intuitive. Okay.
Thank you.
I have one question. So how many manual steps to generate those beautiful catalogs? So what's the turnaround time?
Yeah, so let me go back to the, you mean this image, right? I'm going to make it a bit more condensed. So you mean the lineage through where you go from the raw data through the ETL to the report, right? Well, this is we connect to S3, so automatically when a file comes on S3, we crawl it and we get the metadata. So that's no manual. We connect to Glue. We have a connector to Glue, so we get fetch the ETL, and we automatically, it connects to the source and target tables because they're known by name. This data set was created manually, as you saw. This is Luke, but matching the data to the data set is done by the subject matter expert and helped by our machine learning, which recognizes data types. And then the stitching of the Tableau report here to the source, this is also automatic. So, but we analyze the Tableau report, we read the structure, and we know from that what the name of the source is. And by this, through the Athena, also the Athena information is in the Tableau workbook, we can link it back to the actual table. So there's not a lot of manual work involved, but the data engineer, it's very important that they do the ETL and that they make sure that the link to the data in the data set is correct. So we help. In machine learning, we propose which data this could be, but that's where they confirm.
All right. I think we just do one more, and then we really have to wrap because we have to get the next speaker up there.
One quick question: Can like somebody like extract data in form of CSV and kind of schedule it from this tool?
You mean extract the data through our tool? That's not the goal. No, we can store a sample so they can see, so the business user can see this is what the data looks like. But it's not our goal to extract it through our tool. But as you saw at the to a CSV file. So we don't have the data, we only have a sample, and that sample you could extract, but yeah, that doesn't give you the whole data set, right? Okay, good. Well, thank you very much, and if you want more private questions, 3013, just down the hall on the left. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Collibra, again, they're at 3013 if you'd like to check them out. Thanks, everybody.